In the headlines, a major regional breakthrough. Thailand and Cambodia have signed a historic peace deal in Kuala Lumpur, ending months of border tensions. US-China trade talks. It is simmering down. Officials from both sides say a preliminary consensus has been reached. This comes days before the Trump-Xi summit. Bus disaster shocks Argentina. 9 people have died and nearly 30 others injured after a double-decker bus fell into a stream in an Argentine province. In Peru, dozens of high-risk inmates transferred to a maximum security wing as the country undergoes a state of emergency. Russia's missile claim. President Vladimir Putin flexes nuclear-powered missile capable of striking targets at any range. US-Canada trade dispute drags on. A Canadian government advert criticizing US policy has triggered a fresh cross-border economic row, with new US-imposed tariffs soaring economic partnership. New president in Seychelles, Patrick Herminie, takes office, vowing to unite the nation and deliver sustainable growth. And in the world of sports, Miguel Tabuena makes history, winning the international series Philippines and becoming the first Filipino to claim the title. I'm Prince Tripoli. Newsline World starts now. Russia has successfully tested a nuclear-powered cruise missile that can hit targets at any distance and outmaneuver any defense system. This report from Faith Agustin.
Russian President Vladimir Putin says Moscow has completed the final tests of its new nuclear-powered cruise missile, the Burevestnik, a weapon he calls unique and unmatched by any other country. Speaking at a meeting with top military officials, Putin hailed the Burevestnik missile as a technological breakthrough, claiming it gives Russia a decisive edge in strategic deterrence.
Речь идет о испытании крылатой ракеты неограниченной дальности «Буревестник» с ядерной энергетической установкой. Знаю, что у меня есть доклад и со стороны промышленности, в целом известная и оценка Министерства обороны. Это все-таки уникальное изделие, которого в мире ни у кого нет.
According to top officials, the missile flew 14,000 kilometers during testing, spending 15 hours in the air and performing complex maneuvers designed to evade missile defenses. First unveiled in 2018, the Burevestnik missile is believed to be nuclear-powered and capable of remaining airborne for an extended period, raising new concerns in the West over nuclear safety and arms control. This has been Faith Agustin, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
What started as a Canadian government ad criticizing US trade policies has now escalated into a full-blown trade dispute, with new tariffs threatening one of the world's largest trading relationships. Let's get to know more the full story from Jomel Santos.
A fresh trade dispute is brewing between the US and Canada. President Trump announced on his Truth Social account over the weekend that he will impose a 10% tariff on Canadian imports. This move comes after Ontario released a government-funded advertisement criticizing US trade policies. The ad featured excerpts from a speech by former President Ronald Reagan stating, "Trade barriers hurt every American worker." President Trump called the ad a fraud and slammed Canadian officials for not taking it off the air before the start of the World Series. Meanwhile, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney said his government remains open to negotiations while also expanding trade with other countries, including ASEAN members. In Ontario, Premier Doug Ford confirmed the ad would be temporarily suspended to reopen talks with the US, though he admitted the ad would remain on air until the World Series concludes. The US and Canada share one of the largest trading relationships in the world, with 3/4 of Canadian exports going to the US. With this latest tariff escalation, experts question whether the two nations can restore their once tariff-free friendship. Reporting for Newsline World, Jomo Santos, SMNI News.
Are the world's two biggest economies edging closer to easing trade tensions? Washington and Beijing have reached a preliminary consensus on trade just days before U.S. President Donald Trump meets Chinese President Xi Jinping. More of this report from Franco Baranda.
Top trade officials from China and the U.S. met in Kuala Lumpur on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit, marking the fifth round of in-person talks since May. The meeting brought together U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Trade Representative Jamieson Greer, along with Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng and Trade Envoy Li Shenggang. The two sides discussed key areas including export controls, reciprocal tariffs, counter-narcotics cooperation, and U.S. measures under Section 301, topics that have strained relations for months. Chinese Vice Premier He Lifeng and top negotiator Li Shenggang described the meetings as constructive, and both sides agreed that a stable economic relationship serves mutual interest. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent echoed the sentiment, calling the outcome a very successful framework for next week's Trump-Xi summit. The talks come amid renewed trade friction after Washington threatened new tariffs starting November 1 in response to China's expanded restrictions on rare earth minerals. The current trade truce is due to expire November 10, though officials say it may be extended depending on U.S. President Donald Trump's decision. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Franco Baranda, SMNI News.
Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva called for stronger economic cooperation between Brazil, Malaysia, and other global South nations while addressing the ASEAN Business and Investment Summit 2025 in Kuala Lumpur on Sunday. More of this from Jane Cognita.
As part of his East Asia tour, Lula urged Malaysian entrepreneurs to partner with Brazilian companies and expand trade across developing economies. He stressed that the world's future lies in cooperation rather than geopolitical rivalry, highlighting Brazil's neutral stance in global tensions. The Brazilian leader also said the country is positioned as a hub for sustainable and technological growth, citing its role in the clean energy transition. He invited Malaysian businesses to explore opportunities in Brazil, particularly in renewable energy and semiconductor production.
Porque o mundo de hoje não aceita mais uma nova Guerra Fria. Nós não queremos ficar disputando como se disputou a partir da Segunda Guerra Mundial, que era do lado da Rússia ou que era do lado dos Estados Unidos. A gente não quer uma nova disputa que é do lado dos Estados Unidos ou do lado da China. A gente quer estar do lado da China, do lado dos Estados Unidos, do lado da Malásia, do lado da Indonésia, do lado de todos os países do mundo que queiram fazer negócio conosco. Porque é isso que pode fazer o mundo crescer.
Lula emphasized the need for joint development in key industries to reduce dependence on external markets and strengthen South-to-South cooperation. He added that Brazil guarantees stability and predictability for foreign investors and is currently growing above the global average. The 47th ASEAN Summit runs from the 26th of October to the 28th in Kuala Lumpur, with leaders from across Asia and the Pacific, including China, Japan, and the United States, gathering for high-level discussions on trade, investment, and regional peace. This has been Jane Cognita, your Global Citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Thailand bids a solemn farewell to Queen Mother Sukhirit, who passed away on Friday at the age of 93. Thousands gathered across Bangkok on Sunday to pay tribute to the Queen of Mother. Her cortege made its way from a hospital as mourners lined the streets, waving flags, clutching portraits, and offering prayers. Queen Sukhirit, widely regarded as the mother of the nation, was celebrated for her decades of humanitarian work, leading royal projects that uplifted rural communities and empowered women across Thailand. Supporters of the Queen Mother wept, with many breaking down as the royal procession passed. Queen Mother Sukhirit had been largely absent from public life since suffering a stroke in 2012. Her husband, King Bhumibol Adulyadej, ruled for 7 decades. Together, they shaped a defining era for Thailand's modern monarchy. Queen Mother Sukhirit's remains will be enshrined in Bangkok's Grand Palace. The royal palace has declared a one-year mourning period for the royal family and household. Up next, bus disaster shocks Argentina. 9 people have died and nearly 30 others injured after a double-decker bus fell into a stream in an Argentine province. In Peru, dozens of high-risk inmates transferred to a new maximum security wing as the country undergoes a state of emergency. And President Seychelles, Patrick Herminie, takes office, vowing to unite the nation and deliver sustainable growth. More news when Newsline World returns.
How to receive God's favor. So, for us, in order to receive the favor of God, we must avoid a holier-than-thou attitude. Importante sa harap ng ating Panginoon na tayo ay may kababaan ng loob na huwag nating tingnan at mapagmataas tayo sa ating mga sarili. Isaiah chapter 57 verse 15. For thus saith the high and lofty one that inhabiteth eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place, with him also that is of a contrite and humble spirit, to revive the spirit of the humble and to revive the heart of the contrite ones. Bilang mga anak ng Diyos na tunay, upang tayo ay kasihan ng kanyang pabor, kailangan tayo ay hindi lamang mapagpakumbaba, kundi tayo ay mapagpatawad. You want to seek the favor of God? Be forgiving in your heart, so that when you pray and lift up holy hands to heaven, the Lord of heaven will also forgive your trespasses. May pabor ka na sa Diyos pagka ikaw ay dumadalangin na pinatawad mo ang kasalanan ng iba. In order to receive the favor of God, we must be humble. We must be forgiving. And we should not judge. And then, if you want to have favor with God, you must love God and obey God's words at all times. Ang aklat na ito ng kautusan ay huwag mahihiwalay sa iyong bibig, kundi iyong pagbubulayan araw at gabi upang iyong masunod na gawin ang ayon sa lahat ng nakasulat dito, sapagkat kung magkagayoy iyong pagiginhawain ang iyong lakad, at kung magkagayoy magtatamo ka ng mabuting kawakasan. Magkakaroon ka ng pabor sa harap ng ating Panginoon. Mahalin ang kanyang mga banal na salita, ipamuhay ang kanyang banal na salita, sundin ang kanyang banal na salita, huwag hihiwalay ang kanyang banal na salita sa ating bibig araw at gabi. Pagbubulayan natin yan araw at gabi. Bago kayo magtrabaho sa umaga, pagkagising ninyo, kumuha muna kayo ng mga salita ng Diyos. Magbasa kayo, mag-devotional kayo. Basahin ang salita ng Diyos. Mahalin ang salita ng Diyos. Huwag ilagay ang Biblia at patungan ng anumang klaseng libro. Kailangan yan ay nasa ibabaw ng lahat ng libro.
At least 9 people were killed and 29 others injured after a double-decker bus collided head-on with a car and fell into a stream early Sunday in Misiones province, northeastern Argentina. This story from Eve Buenafe.
The accident happened along National Route 14 near Campo Vieira. Rescue crews and firefighters are seen working through a wreckage as emergency teams assist survivors at the scene.
Una tragedia donde colisionan un autofocus con un colectivo de línea de frente en la entrada del puente y a consecuencia de eso el colectivo cae al arroyo.
Authorities said 11 ambulances were deployed to respond to the incident, with firefighters from Obera, Campo Vieira, and Alem joining the rescue. Among the deceased were 4 students from the National University of Misiones, which expressed sorrow and asked the public to avoid spreading unverified information about the victims.
Tenemos que contar víctimas fatales como también heridos graves que fueron acudidos inmediatamente. Para eso nosotros determinamos y acudimos con en total 11 ambulancias. Trabajaron en conjunto con los bomberos voluntarios de Oberá, de Campo Vieira, de Alén.
The injured, ranging in age from 5 to 67, were treated in hospitals in Obera and Campo Vieira, while 4 were later transferred to Madariaga Hospital in Posadas for specialized care. The bus had departed from Obera bound for Puerto Iguazu, with a stop in 2 de Mayo. Authorities continue investigating the cause of the collision as families mourn the victims of one of Misiones province's deadliest road accidents this year. Eve Buenafe, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
In Peru, the government is stepping up its campaign against organized crime, transferring dozens of high-risk inmates to a new maximum security wing in Lima. The operation, led by interim President Jose Herminie, marks the latest effort to tighten control inside the nation's prisons under the ongoing state of emergency. Major Valdez reports.
Interim President Jose Herminie supervised the transfer of 45 high-risk inmates to a new maximum security wing at Ancon 1 prison in Lima over the weekend, amid heightened security operations under the ongoing state of emergency. The newly built facility can house up to 150 inmates and is designed for prisoners convicted of severe crimes such as contract killing, extortion, aggravated homicide, and armed robbery. The transfer was carried out by the National Penitentiary Institute's Special Operations Group, supported by 50 officers from the National Police Elite Denoise Unit. Authorities said inmates in the new wing will face strict confinement, spending 22 hours a day inside their cells, with visits limited to once every 15 days. The prison wing has no electrical outlets or connections, preventing unauthorized communications or tampering. The move forms part of President Hermienie's broader strategy to dismantle criminal networks operating from inside prisons. Earlier this month, Herminie led Operation Cyclone, a coordinated nationwide raid targeting prisons across Peru. Officers seized mobile phones, drugs, and electronic devices during cell inspections. The government says the new maximum security facility marks a major step in its campaign to curb organized crime and restore order within Peru's penitentiary system. Major Valdez, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
Argentine President Javier Milei's Libertarian Party, La Libertad Avanza, has achieved a significant victory in the national legislative elections with over 40% of the vote and major gains in Congress, giving his reform agenda fresh momentum. This report from Jane Huezan.
La Libertad Avanza secured about 40.8% of the vote for the lower house, compared with roughly 31.6% for the Peronist opposition. The party is reported to have won 64 of the 127 contested seats in the Chamber of Deputies, raising its total number of seats and strengthening its legislative hand. In the Senate, La Libertad Avanza also made gains triumphant in 6 of 8 provinces where Senate seats were being contested. This outcome gives Milei a stronger base to push forward his economic and regulatory reforms, including efforts to shrink the state, deregulate markets, and overhaul labor laws. Analysts say the improved performance could allow the government to protect presidential vetoes and block opposition moves. Yet while the result is a boost, it does not give Milei's party an absolute majority in Congress. He will still need alliances to secure full control. Voter turnout was notably low, around 67 to 68%, the lowest for a national election in Argentina since the return of democracy. With the legislative elections now concluded, attention turns to how quickly President Milei will take advantage of his strengthened mandate and whether opposition forces will regroup to challenge key reforms ahead. This is Jane Wazan, your citizen correspondent, reporting for Newsline World.
A new chapter begins in Seychelles. Patrick Herminie has been sworn in as the 6th president in the capital city of Victoria, pledging unity, progress, and sustainable development for the island nation. The inauguration ceremony took place Sunday. Herminie proposed to improve citizens' quality of life through what he called pragmatic and people-centered policies. Herminie, a former medical doctor and longtime public servant, secured victory in the October 12 runoff election with 52.7% of the vote, defeating incumbent Wavel Ramkalawan, who gained 47.3%. Representing the United Seychelles Party, the 62-year-old previously served as Speaker of the National Assembly from 2007 to 2016. Herminie took office at a time of economic recovery and environmental challenges for the archipelago nation, pledging to steer Seychelles toward what he called inclusive and sustainable growth. When we return, a major regional breakthrough. Thailand and Cambodia have signed a historic peace deal in Kuala Lumpur, ending months of border tensions. And in the world of sports, Miguel Tabuena makes history, winning the international series Philippines and becoming the first Filipino to claim the title. Newsline World will be back after the break.
Madalas ka bang napapasobra sa pag-scroll sa phone mo kahit puro masasamang balita ang nakikita mo? Isipin mo ito. Nakahiga ka na sa kama, nagche-check lang ng phone bago matulog. Tapos, hindi mo na malayan, ilang oras ka na palang nagbabasa at nanonood ng mga balita tungkol sa digmaan, sakuna, politika at lahat ng masasamang nangyayari sa mundo. Nakakaramdam ka na ng kaba at pagod. Pero tuloy mo pa rin ang scroll mo. Ang tawag dyan ay doom scrolling. Ito ang habit ng paulit-ulit na pagtingin sa mga negatibo o nakaka-depress na content tulad ng digmaan, krimen o problema sa mundo. Nakaka-stress pero hindi mo pa rin mapigilan. Ayon sa isang pag-aaral ng Texas Tech University, ang sobrang konsumo ng masasamang balita ay nauugnay sa pagtaas ng stress, anxiety at pisikal na sintomas gaya ng pagkapagod at sakit ng ulo. Ayon naman sa Harvard Health, ang doom scrolling ay nagpapataas ng fight or flight hormones tulad ng cortisol at adrenaline na nakakapagpabigat ng isip at katawan. Nakakaapekto ito sa iyong mood, tulog at maging sa mental at physical health mo. At kapag naman puro memes at random na content ang pinapanood mo ng sunod-sunod hanggang sa mawalan ka na ng gana na mag-isip at gumawa ng iba pang gawain, ang tawag naman dyan ay brain rot. Sa Gen Z at tinatawag na internet culture, ang brain rot ay overconsumption o sobrang tagal na panonood ng paulit-ulit, mababaw, magulo o walang saysay na content online hanggang sa parang manhid na ang utak mo. Kapag nasobrahan, syempre, nakakasama. Nawawalan ka na ng focus, nawawala ang motivation, hirap mag-isip ng malalim, parang lutang o foggy ang utak. Masaya sa simula, pero kapag sobra, napapagod ang isip mo. Nahihirapang mag-concentrate at parang lutang. Mas delikado pa ito sa mga bata dahil ang utak nila ay nasa proseso pa ng pag-develop. kaya mas malakas ang epekto ng doom scrolling at brain rot sa kanila. Maaaring makaapekto sa pag-aaral, pag-iisip at pakikitungo sa iba. Ang higit sa 4 na oras ng screen time araw-araw sa mga kabataan ay konektado sa 35 to 88% na mas mataas na posibilidad ng depresyon, anxiety at stress. Base ito sa isang malawakang pag-aaral sa Brazil. Kaya, maging balanse. Magpahinga sa screen. Magbasa. Makipagkwentuhan. Magdasal. Maging present lagi. Alagaan ang iyong isipan. Kung anong itinatanim sa isipan mo, yun ang lalago.
Children will grow up and bring the joy, the love, the peace, and compassion to the whole world. We only have one planet. We only have one Earth. And I hope that this new generation of children that we have reached out will become millions and billions and bring peace on Earth. Bring peace to humanity.
In 2005, Pastor Apollo C. Kibuloy founded the Sunshine Philippines movement. A mission rooted in love for nature and nation. It began as an environmental and humanitarian initiative to reforest Mount Apo, once barren, now a thriving and beautiful place. Through his initiative, thousands of trees have been planted across the Philippines, bringing life and hope to communities. His advocacy, One Tree, One Nation, is also a movement that calls for unity in preserving the environment. Because every tree planted is a step towards unity, healing, and a greater future. Join One Tree, One Nation.
masasaan pa ang kalayaan kung ang mga alipin ngayon ay sila din naman mang-aalipin bukas.
Ibigin mo ang iyong bayan ng sunod kay Bathala, sa iyong kapurihan at higit sa lahat sa iyong sarili.
Hindi natin mapapalaya ang ating mga sarili maliban kung sumulong tayo na nagkakaisa sa iisang hangarin.
Ang tunay na makabayan ay ang tumutupad ng pagpapabuti ng kanyang mga kapwa, gaano man kaaba ang kanyang katungkulan. Naway magsilbing paalala ang kanilang mga salita upang lalo nating mahalin at tapat na paglingkuran ang minamahal nating inang bayan.
Sa tuwing bumabaha, hindi lang seguridad ang nalalagay sa alanganin, pati na rin ang kalusugan. Isa sa mga bantang dapat iwasan, ang leptospirosis. Ano nga ba ito? Ito ay isang sakit na dulot ng bakterya na tinatawag na leptospira. Nakukuha ito sa pamamagitan ng kontak sa ihi ng mga hayop na may leptospira tulad ng mga daga. Pwede itong makuha sa pagsulong sa baha o pag-inom ng kontaminadong tubig. Nakakapasok ito sa katawan sa pamamagitan ng mga sugat, mata, ilong o bibig. Ang mga sintomas nito ay lagnat, mapulang mata, hirap umihi, masakit na tiyan, masakit na kalamnan, at masakit na ulo. Paano nga ba maiiwasan ang leptospirosis? Ugaliin ang tamang pagtatapon ng basura dahil ang mga maruruming lugar ang kadalasang pinupuntahan ng dagang may dalang leptospirosis. Iwasang lumusong, maglaro o lumangoy sa baha, lalo na kapag may sugat. Gumamit ng bota at gloves kung hindi maiiwasang lumusong sa tubig baha. Sugpuin ang mga daga sa bahay at panatilihin ang kalinisan sa komunidad. Hugasan ng malinis na tubig at sabon ang mga paa matapos lumusong sa baha. Sa kalinisan ng bawat isa, nakasalalay ang kaligtasan ng buong komunidad. Ang paalalang ito ay hatid sa inyo ng SMNI.
Cambodia and Thailand have signed a historic peace and trade agreement, ending months of border tensions. The signing in Kuala Lumpur on Sunday drew praise from U.S. President Donald Trump, who called the accord a life-saving achievement. Paul Montebon tells us more.
After escalations, two Southeast Asian countries, Thailand and Cambodia, inked a peace deal. The Kuala Lumpur Peace Accord, signed during the 47th ASEAN Summit, formally ends months of hostilities along the Thai-Cambodian border. The deal includes provisions for withdrawal of heavy weapons, the release of 18 Cambodian prisoners of war, and joint landmine clearing efforts.
Cambodia reaffirms a strong commitment to fully and faithfully implementing these joint declarations and to continuing to work closely with Thailand and all our partners to ensure that this peace endures and brings tangible benefit to our peoples.
Thai Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul who initially planned to skip the ASEAN summit after the passing of Thailand's Queen Mother, ultimately joined Trump at the ceremony.
Fully implemented will provide the building blocks for a lasting peace. But more importantly, it will begin the process of mending our ties. Our border communities have been divided by conflict, and innocent civilians have suffered immense losses. This declaration places a firm responsibility on our two parties to act.
The agreement also severs a ceasefire and orders the withdrawal of troops from the disputed border, ending months of fighting that threatened to destabilize the region. U.S. President Donald Trump praised the deal as one that saved millions of lives and credited both nations for their willingness to compromise.
Well, this is so exciting because we did something that a lot of people said couldn't be done, and we saved maybe millions of lives on this one peace deal itself. And
for government country, the Philippines, reporting for Newsline World, this has been Paul Montibon, SMNI News.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. further strengthened the Philippines' relations and cooperation with other countries following the 47th ASEAN Summit held in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Daniela Paulite has more of this.
As a nation, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. joined other leaders of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations during the opening of the 47th ASEAN Summit and related summits in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia on Sunday. On the first day of the summit, President Marcos and other ASEAN leaders signed the formal declaration of Timor-Leste as a new member of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. In separate meetings, President Marcos met with several world leaders to discuss regional and bilateral cooperation. During his meeting with Cambodian Prime Minister Herminie, the president expressed the Philippines' support for the peaceful resolution of the conflict between Thailand and Cambodia. Meanwhile, in his talks with Thai Prime Minister Anutin Charnvirakul, both leaders agreed to strengthen cooperation in tourism, business, and agriculture. President Marcos also met with Canadian Prime Minister Mark Joseph Carney, where both sides agreed to expand collaboration in trade, investments, and energy. European Council President Antonio Costa expressed his support for the Philippines' upcoming ASEAN chairship in 2026, while President Marcos and Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae discussed the enhancement of defense and security cooperation between the two nations. President Marcos also reaffirmed the Philippines' readiness to lead the ASEAN in 2026, with a commitment to implement practical and inclusive programs that will benefit the people of the region. Reporting for Newsline World, Daniela Paulita, SMNI News.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. is open to making his statements of assets, liabilities, and net worth, or SALN, available to the proper authorities, including the Office of the Ombudsman, provided that its release follows the procedures set by the anti-corruption body. During a press briefing in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia on Sunday, Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the President has made it clear that he will comply with the Ombudsman's established rules and SALN disclosure. She emphasized that the Ombudsman has set clear guidelines on how SALN requests should be processed, and the executive branch will strictly adhere to these procedures. Castro also reiterated Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin's earlier reminder that SALN should not be used indiscriminately as political tools to attack or discredit public officials. The palace official further confirmed that cabinet officials held an informal meeting on Sunday and agreed to act in accordance with the Ombudsman's procedures regarding the release of SALNs. Hong Kong's Victoria Harbour transformed into a floating wonderland this weekend as towering inflatables of Doraemon, Elmo, Greenies, and Labubu set sail for the city's first ever water parade. Joy Tabanao has a story.
Hong Kong's iconic Victoria Harbour turned into a playground of nostalgia and color on Saturday as four beloved pop culture characters, Labubu, Doraemon, Elmo, and Grimace set sail in a dazzling water parade that's bringing smiles and excitement to locals and tourists alike. The spectacle, featuring 20-meter-tall inflatable versions of the famous characters, marks the launch of the city's first-ever water parade, an 8-day celebration that blends art, culture, and entertainment along the waterfront near Tamar Park. The installation is the latest project by creative studio All Rights Reserved, known for transforming urban spaces through large-scale art installations. Visitors have already begun flocking to the harbor to take photos with their childhood favorites. Beyond the floating giants, the water parade market adds to the festive spirit, featuring pop-up installations from major entertainment brands, including Netflix K-pop Demon Hunters, Stranger Things Season 5, Squid Game, and classic favorites like Snoopy and the Peanuts family. Visitors can also enjoy food stalls, game booths, photo zones, and collectible capsule toys, making the event a family-friendly celebration of creativity and fun. The grand finale is set for November 1, where the four inflatable characters will embark on a harbor cruise between Hong Kong Island and Kowloon, lighting up the night in a colorful, moving parade, a fitting close to a celebration that bridges art, nostalgia, and joy on the city's shimmering waters. Joy Cabanao, your citizen correspondent reporting for Newsline World.
First in showbiz, Kim Kardashian edges closer to her goal of becoming a licensed attorney as she awaits for her California bar exam results. Meanwhile, pop star Britney Spears is making headlines after being seen driving recklessly in California, worrying fans and friends. Andrea Santos tells us more.
Kim Kardashian is closer than ever to becoming a licensed attorney. The 45-year-old spent the past 6 years completing California's alternative path to the bar, balancing law studies with raising 4 children and running her business empire. In May, Kardashian celebrated graduating from the program after logging over 5,000 hours of legal study. She took the California bar exam last July and told the Graham Norton Show that she hopes to be qualified in 2 weeks. The reality star started her legal apprenticeship in 2018, passed the baby bar in 2021, and completed her final exams. Legal experts note she is eligible to sit for the bar, but passing remains a major hurdle. If she succeeds, Kardashian could follow in the footsteps of her late father, Robert Kardashian Sr., as a trial lawyer. She now awaits her official bar exam results. Britney Spears is making headlines again, this time over a dramatic driving incident that has fans and friends concerned. The pop superstar was seen leaving a high-end restaurant in Thousand Oaks, California, before getting into her black BMW and driving off in what witnesses call out-of-control behavior. One bystander says she nearly ran over a friend while pulling out of the parking lot. Footage shows her veering into oncoming lanes, drifting into a bike lane, and tailgating another vehicle. She also reportedly spent about 20 minutes struggling to enter the gate of her estate, keying in multiple times before finally getting in. Sources link the behavior to stress over ex-husband Kevin Federline's new memoir, which includes troubling claims about their children. These allegations haven't been independently confirmed. No charges have been reported, but concerns are mounting over Britney's well-being and decision-making behind the wheels. This is Andrea Santos, your citizen correspondent, bringing you the latest showbuzz.
In sports, Filipino golfer Miguel Tabuena makes history at home with a stunning International Series win, while Formula One's Lando Norris rockets back to the championship led by a flawless drive at the Mexico City Grand Prix. More of this from Carlo de la Peña.
Tabuena closed out the tournament with a brilliant 7 under 65, finishing at 24 under 264 for a 3-shot victory over Japan's Kazuki Higa and Yusuke Asaji. The 31-year-old Filipino outshone top names, including Dustin Johnson and Luis Osthusen, showing poise and composure throughout 4 rounds at Santa Elena Golf Club. An eagle on the 8th hole in a series of clutch birdies sealed the win before an emotional home crowd. Tabuena later dedicated the victory to his family and supporters, calling it a dream come true. With the win, Tabuena became the first Filipino to lift an International Series trophy, a triumph that reignites national pride and hope for Philippine golf. Meanwhile, starting from pole position, McLaren's Lando Norris delivered a commanding performance at the Mexico City Grand Prix, leading from start to finish to claim his 6th win of the season. The British driver held firm through the opening corner and quickly built a gap, cruising to victory by more than 30 seconds. The win propelled Norris to the top of the championship standings, 1 point ahead of teammate Oscar Piastri, who recovered from 7th on the grid to finish 5th. Ferrari's Charles Leclerc took 2nd place, while Red Bull's Max Verstappen settled for 3rd, now trailing the lead by 36 points with 4 races remaining. The race ended under a virtual safety car after Carlos Sainz retired in the closing laps, preventing what could have been a thrilling finish as Verstappen closed in on Leclerc. Rookie driver Oliver Bierman impressed with a composed and consistent drive to finish 4th, his best result so far, earning praise from both fans and rivals. Norris' dominant run also capped a remarkable comeback, erasing a 34-point deficit to Piastri since his retirement at the Dutch Grand Prix in August. Reporting from Newsline World, this has been Carlo de la Peña bringing you the latest sports news.
And before we end, may be inspired with the words of the sun. As long as you are sincere in seeking for salvation, the Father will not lead you astray. And for a Christmas countdown, only 59 days to go before Christmas. And that's all for this edition of Newsline World. For God in my beloved country, the Philippines, I'm Prince Tripoli. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.